Oh my god. It's real. Ain't no way. Okay, hold the phone here. Hold the before we get to the big story. Before we get to the big story here, hold the fucking phone. So I had a James O'Keefe tab here. Leaked phone call. LA Mayor Karen Bass preemptively defended Ghana trip despite local catastrophe. I'm missing 2 work days, that's it, and then dropped a cryptic warning days before the LA fires. Read in between the lines. Hold tight. You will understand soon. Let me turn off my background music for this.
Of my trip, just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. That's it. And if President Biden extends me an invitation, I took it. And hopefully you can read in between the lines. But I would just appreciate, and it's hard for me to tell you this, but hold tight. You will understand soon.
See, like, this could just be her being fucking brain damaged, but, like, it sounds a little weird. It sounds almost like she kind of knew that something bad would happen, and that's why she got the fuck out of Dodge while it was going down. Oh, this isn't voiced. A leaked phone call from January 4th reveals Mayor Karen Bass defending her controversial trip to Ghana while dropping a cryptic warning just days before the devastating LA fires ignited. Why is the music so fucking creepy? If you're an American, you're used to almost everything you consume having emotional music triggers. Because for some reason, I guess Americans are so fucking dumb, they won't know how to react to something unless there's music giving them an emotional trigger. Right, which is why we have, like, the joyful music that plays, like, the sad music, the ominous music, the spooky music. Like, you have to have that emotional trigger music. I don't know why we do it, but I fucking hate it. And once you notice it, you can't stop noticing it. Mayor Karen Bass admitted that addressing the growing safety issues in MacArthur Park is not her area of expertise.
The situation is very dangerous, and I would never do. I will take the criticism before I do a publicity stunt. And frankly, a press conference at this point in time would just be publicity.
I think
the
neighbors, the property owners,
yeah,
and the residents. I mean, 41,000 people live within a square mile here.
Yeah.
2 families share a 1-bedroom apartment.
But they want to hear that something is going to be done.
They want to know it's recognized. But they want to know it's recognized.
Exactly. But if I have a choice between that and compromising something, I just have to go along with it.
What does that mean?
It's not my area of expertise.
What is that? What does she mean by this?
I want to make sure that you are safe. And hopefully you can read in between the lines.
It's the second time she said that.
I just appreciate, and it's hard for me to tell you this, but hold tight. You will understand soon.
Spicy cat raid. What the hell is a spicy cat raid?
Okay.
And when I am able to talk, I will be happy to go into great detail.
Okay. And you've got me on the street, and you're welcome to call me at any time. I'll call you right back.
No problem. And just in terms of my trip, just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. That's it. And if President Biden...
This is just a re-beginning, rehashing of the beginning of the video. So this was shared by James O'Keefe. In a private phone call with an anonymous source, Mayor Karen Bass sought to downplay her trip to Ghana as a brief visit. As criticism mounted, just so you know, blah, 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 we already know that. And then I had this article. This was on February 21st. Karen Bass ousts LA fire chief, saying the LA fire department needs new leadership. And I was like, that's interesting, because I feel like the mayor should also be fired. I feel like it's not just the fire chief that is culpable here. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass ousted Fire Chief Kristen Crowley over her handling of the Palisades fire Friday, adding to the turmoil that has enveloped City Hall. Bass took that step after publicly ramping up criticism of Crowley in recent days. Crowley's the fall guy. Complaining that she had not heard from the chief until after the fire broke out, while also questioning the chief's deployment decisions. We know that 1,000 firefighters that could have been on duty on the morning the fires broke out were instead sent home on Chief Crowley's watch, Bass said in a statement Friday announcing Crowley's firing. Well, Crowley was prioritizing fucking DEI nonsense. We all remember that video of the firefighter lady who was just like, your husband's in a fire? Well, why did he get himself in that position to begin with? When she was asked if she could carry a fully grown male out of the building. The mayor also alleged that the chief had refused to participate in an after-action report on the fires after being asked to do so by the Fire Commission president, Genethia Hudley Hayes, a base appointee. And see, this is where the problem lies. All of these people support all of these DEI initiatives, but when something goes wrong, none of them want to take the accountability, so they just find the first person they can blame it on and then get rid of that person. It'll like forever be a row of dominoes of Fall Guys, where for whatever reason, they think they won't become one. Chief Crowley made a televised statement after the firing, but didn't say anything against the government. Of course. Okay, she's not gonna be able to. A Times investigation found that LA Fire Department officials chose not to order roughly 1,000 firefighters, fuck you, pop-up, to remain on duty for a second shift as winds were building, which would have doubled the personnel on hand when the Palisades fire broke out the morning of January 7th. Fire officials staffed at just 5 of more than 40 engines that are available to aid in battling wildfires, the Times found. We also know that they rejected help from other fire departments that tried sending engines down because I guess the engines did not meet some sort of fucking emissions output or whatever. And we also had that weird water basin incident that wasn't filled. I can't remember the guy who was like calling all of this shit out, but he was someone who tried running for some sort of government seat in somewhere in California. California, by the way. I don't know how that happened, but I don't remember his name, and I feel kind of bad about that because I feel like I should remember his name. Another Times investigation found that LA Fire Department could have sent at least 10 additional engines to the Palisades before the fires. Engines that could have been on patrol along the hillsides and canyons and potentially put out the fire when it was still small. Crowley did not immediately respond to a request for comment about her dismissal. LA Fire Department spokesperson Eric Scott said the department was aware of the mayor's announcement and had no further comments or interviews on this matter at this time. It's mixed. The LA Fire Department chief screwed up big time, but Mayor Bass screwed them over by cutting their budget. You say fire them both? Oh yeah. I'm not saying the fire chief didn't screw up. They were fucking atrocious. They should not have been a fire chief. Rick Caruso, thank you. Rick Caruso was the name of the guy calling out all of the fucking garbage shit that was going on. And yeah, Bass should also be fired. She should, or I guess recalled. I don't know if a mayor can be fired, but like she should not be remaining in that position. You're also calling it out 20 years ago, but only Kierkegaard knows who I am. Relatable. LA Fire Department veteran Ronnie Villanueva will serve as interim chief. He retired 7 months ago as chief deputy of emergency operations after 41 years with the department, according to the mayor's office. Mans came out of retirement for this. Crowley's dismissal drew immediate backlash from the firefighters union, whose leaders supported her last month when she spoke out about needing more city resources. Crowley is being made a scapegoat and she's being terminated for telling the truth, said Freddie Escobar, president of the United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, Local 112. I mean, I agree, she is being made a scapegoat, but I disagree that she should have been the chief in the first place. She was only doing damage, and she was only following orders about the damage to be done. Base knew the chief followed orders to let shit burn. Base needed a fall guy. The chief had buyer's remorse, and whoever's pulling Base's strings silenced her. Absolutely. Escobar disputed Base's rationale for firing Crowley, saying that an outside investigation into the fire is already underway. He also asserted that the department lacks a sufficient number of trucks and engines for the 1,000 firefighters who were sent home hours before the fire started. Several former LA Fire Department chief officers told at the Times that keeping the firefighters on duty would have enabled the department to send dozens of extra engines to the Palisades and other high-risk areas. And firefighters not assigned to the additional engines would have been available for other tasks. Council member Monica Rodriguez, whose northeast San Fernando Valley district has experienced major hillside fires in recent years, also slammed Base's decision. She said she plans to use her authority as a council member to set the record straight, while seeking to overturn Crowley's dismissal through a city council vote. Such a strategy would be an extremely steep challenge, requiring a 2/3 majority on the 15-member council, but not impossible. Rodriguez accused Base of removing Crowley to deflect criticism for being in Ghana when the fire erupted, destroying nearly 7,000 homes and other structures and killing at least 12. On January 7th, she was praising the fire chief and her response, Rodriguez said in an interview. And then it appears, as the heat kicked up over her absence, she continued to try and attribute blame to someone else. Rodriguez, who had been the mayor's most vocal critic on the council, said the public deserves a full account of every single leadership failure that has taken place. Agreed. Hard fucking agree. Because, like, even when I was posting literally verifiable evidence of all of this, like, shit that was incorrect that the mayor had done, people on Twitter were still trying to argue that it was, like, baseless fucking conspiracy theory. And, like, just because I mentioned the fire department sending supplies to Ukraine, all of them, like, saw the word Ukraine and then got activated like some sort of MK Ultra agent, and that's all they focused on. They're just like, oh, you're blaming Ukraine for the fires? And it's like, no, Ukraine didn't start the fires. And if it was only sending supplies to Ukraine, yeah, that would be bad, but it's part of the culmination. If you keep doing a bunch of bad shit that leads a situation to being worse than it could have been, every little needle in that haystack adds up, man. Like, you can't just keep adding things to the Jenga pile and not expecting it to collapse. So yes, sending stuff to Ukraine is part of the problem that led to this. Is it the only one? Absolutely not. And then there were some fucking real breakfast perceivers that were like, yeah, what do you mean that we could have fought the fires better when we're sending, like, old military tanks and, like, fucking large weapons over there? I can't remember what weapons they said. It was some sort of, like, explosive thing. And I'm like, what? It's the LA Fire Department! The fire department doesn't have fucking weapons of war and tanks! It was fire supplies, you fucking retards! Actually, you made a spelling error in your well-researched and reasoned documentation, so you're wrong. And they're sending the PPE, man. The new scum just signed a $50 million package to protect Cali against Trump. Protect them from what? The bunches of water that Trump just released? Now he wants $40 billion from the federal government with no oversight? Oh my god, what a fucking retard, man. What an idiot. Well, the firefighters do not have tanks. How about machine guns? Rockets? Shake my head. There were some other people that were like, all the PPE that they sent was expired, so, like, we couldn't have used it anyway. And it's like, if the PPE was expired so we couldn't have used it, what fucking good is it in Ukraine? Like, do you hear yourself? Now Ukrainians hate the US. If it was expired, why are we sending it? Clearly the US is a double agent, both spending billions of dollars on a war we should have nothing to do with, while also sabotaging them by sending them faulty equipment. It's good enough for the Slavs. They'll figure it out. Oh my god. Ukraine supporters are just crazy. Where was I? Crowley's ouster, coming 6 weeks after the Palisades fire, adds to the disarray that has roiled City Hall and the mayor's administration in particular. Base had been facing questions not just about the city's preparation for the hurricane force winds and accompanying wildfire, but also her management of the crisis. In recent weeks, Base had had a strained relationship with Steve Soboroff, her recovery czar, and with County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, what a name, whose district includes Pacific Palisades. Base reversed course on a plan to reopen the Pacific Palisades following opposition from council member Tracy Park, who also represents the Palisades. And she backtracked on a plan to pay Soboroff $500,000 for 90 days of work, using funding from philanthropy. Soboroff is now working for free. Bro, can you imagine making $500,000 for 90 days of work? That is insane. That is a crazy amount of money. What the fuck? The tensions between Base and Crowley date back to the initial days after the fire broke out. On January 10th, while the flames were still raging out of control, Crowley gave an extraordinary television interview, telling a Fox 11 reporter that the city of Los Angeles, and by implication her boss, Base, had failed her and her department. She went on to describe her agency as understaffed and underfunded, calling the situation no longer sustainable. Later that day, Crowley had equally strong words for CNN's Jake Tapper, telling him the fire department lacks enough mechanics to repair broken down emergency vehicles. When Tapper asked whether the city's budget cuts affected her agency's ability to fight the wildfires, she responded, "I want to be very, very clear. Yes." And that is also true. They had some crazy fucking budget cuts. Not just 90 days of work, 90 days of government quote-unquote work. Cut the fat, baby! Hours later, Crowley was summoned to the mayor's office. The closed-door meeting went so long that Bass did not show up for her own late afternoon wildfire emergency news conference. After that episode, Crowley and Bass continued to appear at news conferences together and said that they were focused on the fire and recovery. Ooh, Crowley got fucking struggle sessioned so fucking hard, dude. That is insane. The mayor and her team gave a series of statements to reporters this week that suggested Crowley didn't tell Bass about the seriousness of the fire risk, amid increasingly severe warnings about high winds before Bass traveled to Africa on a diplomatic mission. Diplomatic mission, my fucking ass. My fucking ass, dude. Don't even play that fucking game. Bass spokesperson Zach Seidel told The Times that Crowley routinely called the mayor or her team ahead of severe weather events, but did not do so before January 7th. Well, that sounds like some where did she say it? Where did she say it? Where did she say the thing? Where did she say the thing?
And just in terms of my trip, just so you know, I'm missing 2 work days. That's it. And if President Biden extends me an
Spicy cat raid.
invitation,
What the hell is a spicy cat raid?
hopefully you can read in between the lines. But I would just appreciate, and it's hard for me to tell you this, but hold tight. You will understand soon.
Yeah, you'll understand soon. You'll understand soon. Don't worry about it. Crowley routinely called the mayor and her team ahead of severe weather events, but did not do so before January 7th. Earlier this week, Bass said during 2 television interviews that she didn't receive enough information about the weather. If she had, she said, she would have canceled her trip. I just don't believe you. I just don't believe you, little lion lady. Moomy playing games. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome, Raiders. Why does she sound so creepy? Because, for some reason, she's talking with a very low inflection. And she's talking in a way that makes you feel like she's hiding something. And I'm not sure why she's talking that way. Maybe she's a witch! On Friday, after ousting the fire chief, Bass said that during her 2 years in office, Crowley had called her cell phone every time there was even a hint of a weather emergency. The mayor did not respond to questions about how she could have been aware of the severe wind forecasts, which were wildly broadcast in the days before the fire exploded. So I was like, I just don't watch the weather in the town that I'm responsible for. Why would I do that? Although Crowley has been ousted as chief, she will continue to serve in the fire department. Fucking why? See, this is the problem. When you have these incompetent people who are put into positions because of ideology and not because they're capable, you can't just move them around and give them a different title. You can't keep them. You have to actually get rid of them. They should not be in these positions whatsoever. It doesn't matter if she's a chief or if she's a regular firefighter. This is going to cost people's lives. Or, well, rather it would before I learned out that she's been murdered. The mayor's office did not immediately respond when asked to clarify the former chief's current role. Mayor Eric Garcetti picked Crowley in 2022 to lead the department, and she was the first female chief in its history. Wow! And she was elevated at a time when female firefighters were speaking out about patterns of sexual harassment and hazing at the department. Rick Caruso, who ran unsuccessfully against Bass for mayor in 2022 and has been a prominent antagonist since the fires, sharply criticized the mayor's decision to remove Crowley, saying the decision to ignore the warnings and leave the city was hers alone. Wait, she was what? Yeah, that's why we're even talking about this. Because I've had that recording and I've had this article in tabs for a couple of days now and I haven't gotten to get to them. And then someone in chat was just like, yeah, the former chief was fucking murdered, dude. And I was like, what? What? So we're gonna read that tab in a second. Apparently it was a fire captain, not chief, Rebecca Becky Marodi, that was recently killed on 2/17/25. Oh, fuck. Okay, that's unfortunate. So I guess the chatter was mistaken about it being this lady. You didn't even realize that. We'll get to that tab in a second. I just want to finish up this article first. Rick Caruso sharply criticized the mayor's decision to remove Crowley, saying the decision to ignore the warnings and leave the city was hers alone. Okay, that's a little odd, right? Because I feel like Rick Caruso should be both criticizing Crowley and Bass, not saying that removing Crowley is the wrong idea, because both of them should be removed. It's unclear whether the other council members will rally behind Rodriguez's effort to overturn the mayor's decision. The city charter gives the mayor the power to remove most department heads, such as the fire chief, without the approval of the city council. However, the charter also gives Crowley the right to appeal the decision to the council within 10 days of being removed. Crowley would need the support of 10 of the 15 council members to overrule the firing. Bass, who appeared Friday with 4 council members standing behind her, voiced confidence that the legislative body would support her decision. While she acknowledged differences of opinion among various public officials, she insisted that the city is not in upheaval. We have just experienced the worst natural disaster that our city has ever experienced. It would be wonderful to think that everything would be smooth every step of the way, but I don't believe that is realistic. I think we are standing together. I think we are standing strong. She looks very similar to the other lesbian fire person. Like, if you had shown me a fucking what's her face Crowley and this woman together, I would not be able to tell the difference. Crowley is probably the scapegoat. I agree. Crowley is probably the scapegoat. Probably the scapegoat because she's just the easiest one to get rid of, and they know they can keep her mouth shut because they have plenty of dirt on all of the initiative she was doing. So that is very unfortunate then that she is just ousted as the chief, but she'll continue to serve in the fire department. She shouldn't be there. She shouldn't be there at all because she's going to keep creating issues. So this is a woman suspected of killing her wife, a California fire captain who battled the Eaton fire last month, was previously convicted of killing her first spouse, records show. Bro, how does a woman who killed her first spouse manage to not still be in jail and also get a second spouse? Like, I'm over here. I can't even get one, man. I can't even get one spouse. What? And this martyr lady got 2? How is life fair? The lesbian statistics. Yolanda Marodi, also known as Yolanda Olajenidzek, is a suspect in the slaying of her wife, Rebecca Marodi, according to the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. Rebecca Marodi, 49, was found stabbed to death Monday at a residence in Ramona. Rebecca and Yolandi Marodi were married for just over 2 years, according to Sheriff Lieutenant Michael Crew. According to public records, they also shared the same address. Yolanda Marodi was sentenced in 2004 to 11 years in prison after pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter in the fatal stabbing of her then-husband, James Joseph Olajenidzek, according to court records. She served time in prison from 2004 until 2013. That is insane to me. She only got 11 fucking years for murdering a guy. What the fuck? What the fuck? That doesn't seem right, man. Like, I mean, maybe there's more about the case, I don't know. Like, maybe it wasn't like a completely fucking innocent murderation, I don't know. I don't know anything about James Joseph Jezelnik guy. Crime of passion, I don't know. I don't like that, man. You shouldn't... I don't know what the difference between, like, a fucking voluntary manslaughter and just straight up murder charge is... But, like, that 11 years just doesn't seem... His name is my name, too! Marodi, 53, is currently at large, and authorities are asking for the public's help in locating her. She's described as 5'2", about 166 pounds with brown hair, according to a Sheriff's Department news release. How the fuck did a 5'2" woman manage to murderate 2 people, one of them being a man? How did this happen? Couldn't he just have, like, held out his hand against her forehead and, like, stopped her from attacking him? Like, I don't... How the hell do you turn a stabbing into manslaughter? Did she trip and fall into him? Knife first? Ambush, that's true. That's true. Built like a fridge. Woman serves 1/3 less prison time than men. 5'2" and 166 sounds fatty. I don't know. I can't visualize that in my head. I'm not good at numbers. 11 years for murders is wild. Yeah, like that makes me like, what the fuck happened here? That seems wildly under sentenced in my opinion. Dude was probably sleeping. Oh, that's your fault for falling asleep around the woman you married, you idiot. Black pillars in chat will take that sentence seriously. Rebecca Marodi started her career as a volunteer firefighter in 1993 in Moreno Valley and worked as a seasonal firefighter in Riverside and San Bernardino counties from 1994 to 2000, according to the California Fire Department of Forestry and Fire Protection and the Riverside County Fire Department. She was a fire apparatus engineer in 2007 and promoted to captain in 2022. All right, now you guys might call me a little bit black-pilled in this case, right? You might want to check me before I wreck myself, but I feel like a woman who's been convicted of a murder probably shouldn't be working in a job that requires you to be responsible for other people's lives. Because I feel like if this woman was sent to a fire where she had to pull people out of a burning building, she would instead try to figure out a way to watch those people die instead of saving them. Right? Like, it could have been a crime of passion. It could have just been she really fucking hated her husband, right? It could have been specifically targeting him. But personally, if you've been convicted of any kind of manslaughter, murder, whatever the fuck homicide you want to choose, I don't think you should be able to have a job where you're responsible for other people's lives. You're supposed to black pill to that. The murder victim was the firefighter. Oh yeah, that's right. Yolanda was the one set. Look, man, I'm bad at names too. Rebecca was the victim. Yolanda was the knifer. But I don't know what Yolanda did. I don't know if they talked about if Yolanda also worked at the fire station. Ignore that last rant then. The victim was the fire lady. Extra crispy. A fire in the right place is also a good way to get rid of evidence. That's also fair, unfortunately. A knifer and knifey. I still say I got the names mixed up, chat. The fire lady was the victim, but also I would still stand behind if you've committed a murderation, you probably shouldn't be in a position to take care of other people. Rebecca was the victim. Yolanda was the victor. Oh, don't say it that way. Using prisoners to fight fires in California is tradition. Funny enough, they used to ban them from being firefighters after they got out. Thank you for the 100 biddies. I could see, like, right, if you had like a prisoner platoon, like being watched while they were fighting the fire, like maybe, but also, yeah, they definitely, depending on their crime. Like if some guy went to fucking prison over having weed on him, I feel like that guy could probably be a firefighter after, right? He's not gonna watch people fucking burn to death. California seems to have a lot of lesbian fire chiefs that all look alike, yeah, because they prioritize hiring based on DEI. Nerdrotic was run? Yeah. I feel like most prisoners could successfully be firefighters, but if you've been convicted of, like, any kind of murderation, definitely not. Definitely not. Nerdrotic was a firefighter when he was in prison, if you recall correctly. Yeah, I, like, vaguely remember him mentioning that, I think, when I was on. It was on Friday Night Tights. They used inmates who volunteered to help patrol and dig fire lines. Huh. A pothead might watch someone burn to death if they're high on the job. Well, if they're high on the job, they're gonna catch another charge, because, like, I don't think that's legal. What is this SCP? Using prisoners? What? If you recall correctly, being a prisoner firefighter, you can't have a serious offense and you have to be on super good behavior, which would make sense. And that seems like a reasonable thing. That seems very reasonable. Women shouldn't be firefighters or cops. They're objectively weaker and it makes people unsafe. No, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Like, if you're in, like, a high-trust society where you barely need police officers to begin with, right? Like, your fucking city has, like, maybe one murder every 10 years. You could probably afford a couple of women on the force, right? Because it's like, what are they gonna do? They're not gonna have to really go after too much crime. But, like, we don't exactly live in a high-trust society. Or frontline troops. Also absolutely agree. Also absolutely agree. That's a shit take. One of your best aerial truck operators in your fire department is a female. If they can meet the same exact standards as men to be in the fire department, they should be allowed to be a firefighter. The problem is that the standards are often lessened to allow more women into the force, which is a huge problem. Because I want everyone, men or women, to be capable of pulling out, like, the 6'7" large beefcake dudes out of a fire if necessary, right? And if you can't handle the weight of all of the gear, the weight of another human being, you should not be in that position. Also depends on your actual position. You don't want to pull out. Standard is unisex. Women who are capable of doing that are extreme outliers. They are. But those extreme outliers should be allowed to have those jobs. The problem is that it's not applied that way. If a woman can meet the same standards, there should be absolutely nothing that prevents her from taking the job. The problem is the lowered standards to allow people in that make it a dangerous situation, not just for people they would have to pull out of fires, but also for their fellow firemen, also for their fellow police officers, also for their fellow soldiers. It puts everyone in an unsafe environment. Even women prefer men for pilots and firefighters? Oh, fucking highly, dude. Fucking highly. Like, we read an article months ago about people complaining about how like it's assumed that they're not qualified for the job because they're like a woman or a minority, and it's like, yeah, you can thank the fucking 60 years of affirmative action for that. When I see something like a woman police officer or a woman pilot, I don't think, wow, they're a highly qualified police officer, pilot person, and I feel safe being around them. I think this person probably got the job when they were incapable of doing it because they were a woman and the company wanted fucking DEI kickbacks. So now I'm not really sure if they're capable of doing the job, and I don't exactly feel safe. That is the normal opinion of most people who realize what affirmative action was.